Is Isak gonna be moved by Newcastle this summer transfer window? Well, Newcastle are in advanced talks with Victor Boniface from Bayern Leverkusen. Now, you might be saying, well, just because they're in advanced talks with another striker doesn't mean you're going to be selling Isak. But the thing is, there is a price tag on Isak. Everybody has a price tag. And Isak, if they were to get a sum of over 100 million, I feel like Newcastle would be more than welcoming to letting Isak go if he wishes, and getting a replacement like Victor Boniface would be a player that they feel like could replace the goals that Isak scores year in and year out at Newcastle. So, looking for a replacement for a player that has been top three in the goal scorers, the only reason you're doing that is because they are going to be transferring. And considering that a report came out that Arsenal are reportedly willing to spend over 125 million to sign Alexander Isak, shows that there is actually some worry in Newcastle saying that they actually might meet the price tag or even more. So that's why they're out here having talks with Leverkusen over a striker, because they're willing to let him go, and it seems like the price tag will be met this transfer window if Arsenal are actually going to be spending over 125 million on Isak, which I believe would be sufficient. I feel like Arsenal, I would add in Gabriel Jesus. There was Gabriel Jesus reports to Newcastle saying that Newcastle were interested in the player. They felt like he could be a solid replacement for Isak possibly. And if you get 100 million, let's say, plus Gabriel Jesus, and then you can even get Boniface, you could let go of Callum Wilson, and now your two strikers are going to be, instead of Wilson and Isak, Boniface and Gabriel Jesus, which I feel like would be not a bad replacement for the duo that you'd possibly be losing this, transfer window. And I feel like Arsenal don't have really the opportunity to actually cheap out this time on a striker, because everybody knows Arsenal, across the board at the moment, have the pieces that are good enough to win the Premier League, to challenge for the Champions League. It's just that striker position, and why not go all out and get the number one target on everyone's board, which is Alexander Isak, considering Haaland has his death row contract with Man City. He will not be moved, so that moves Isak, who I believe in the world at the moment is the second best striker. And you could even say there's some things that Isak does that Erling Haaland just doesn't do, which would be he's better on the ball, he's better technically, and to be honest, running in and behind the ball, I'm taking Isak. But when it comes to box presence, aerial threat, then Erling Haaland. Finishing, you might have to put Erling Haaland over, Isak, considering he did break the Premier League, record for most goals in a season. But Arsenal do face competition with Liverpool, but honestly, the only way I would have seen Liverpool actually be able to, meet the asking price that Newcastle has, because Liverpool don't really spend 100 million on players. They're more of a business. They ran more as a business than they ran as, a fan actually trying to go out there and make a competitive team. No, they look at it as a business. But the only way I saw this happening was if Mo Salah was sold, But, obviously they let that contract run down, and now they're even going to pay him more wages after extending his contract. But the only way I really saw it was getting that asking price from Saudi of 100 million last summer transfer window. That would have been like, what, Liverpool have the funds now. Or if they would have let go of Trent prior and got a decent sum from Madrid, or Van Dijk would have been sold, a major player getting sold, then maybe I would have been like, Isak might be actually going to Liverpool. But since there was no major sell from Liverpool, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a major sell from Liverpool in this summer transfer window, the only things I hear is, Diego Jota, but that's not going to give you a lot of money. Maybe Darwin Nunez. That's the caliber of player that we're seeing that might exit Liverpool, like Endo as well. Not the Salahs, not the Luis Diaz. So that's why, I see Isak not being a viable option, but instead Liverpool do have the luxury of being able to cheap out, considering that they just won the Premier League. But anyways, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Do you believe that Newcastle are now prepared to let go of Isak, considering they're in advanced talks with a different striker? Or is that just them trying to replace Callum Wilson with a bit more quality? But anyways, I don't really see Boniface going to Newcastle, though, if he's not going to be the starting striker, though. I will say that. But anyways, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.